All right. Welcome to another edition of In Conversation with Rock Show Critique as we bring in a guest who's going to be playing the Batavia Downs here on June 25th. It'll be a second time playing the Downs here. Mr. Steve Augeri, welcome.
Hello, hello. Hey, Joe. How you doing? Hey, everybody out there. I'm happy to be with y'all. Good to meet you, Joe.
Yep. So, obviously, we got some unexpected downtime here. What have you been doing to keep busy?
Wow, you're not kidding. In mid-March, we had just finished a slew of shows. We had our best year yet as a solo band, my band, the Steve Augeri Band, and it all came to, just like the rest of the world, it all came to a screeching halt. And no sooner did that happen, my whole entire household became ill. So there weren't any tests available at the time. So we stuck it out, we got through it, and everybody recovered, thank God, and got me to thinking, well, this looks like it may take a little longer than just 6 months, or if it could go on, who knows when this is going to come, we're going to see the end of the light of this tunnel. So I switched on to creative mode, and maybe out of a survival instinct, I was starting to think that perhaps this may be the last time I would get to record or create music. So what a luxury it was, a silver lining, to stay home and write and create. And in this time, I've written and recorded a record that is currently being mixed as we speak. So there are silver linings.
Full record, full length?
Full length, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's a surprise. That's good to hear.
Yeah, and the title as of now is called 7 Ways Till Sunday. That is the running title. It's a mouthful, but you got to get it in now while you got a chance,
Exactly. So since the pandemic is winding down here, it seems like how many shows have you guys done so far to date?
As a band, we've done none. We are literally going to start in Florida this Friday. This Thursday. We're flying out Wednesday, which is an experience unto itself. Neither of us have flown in a year and a half too. So, there's that anxiety thing going on, but I got over it. I was in North Dakota with the band Asia and my good friend John Payne, their bassist and vocalist. And I did my first show, my maiden voyage last Friday, North Dakota. So that was a good warm up for me to push me back out into the footlights and get used to singing again in front of an audience, which is a little awkward at first. But it's kind of like riding a bicycle. And by the end of the show, it seemed like we hadn't missed a step. So, but these are the first few shows, and Batavia will be perhaps our as a band, our second show. Yeah. Okay. So, it has its pros and cons. You might be there may still be some cobwebs, but I can tell you there's going to be an energy and a joy of just coming out and playing again that you won't have 3 months from now. So there's a good give and take, like everything in life,
All right. Well, so an interesting question I have for you now is, because you haven't really done a lot of singing probably over the last while because you haven't been on the road. Do you do anything special for your voice? Anything out of the ordinary to try to keep it in good shape?
Yeah, well, I'll put it this way. For the first 6 months of the lockdown, I tried, but after being ill, I literally took 6 months off. So for the first 6 months, I rested. And then from there, I had to jump back and get in it as if you were an athlete. And you had to get back into training. And I had to train first every third day, then every 2 days. And then I ramped up to every 5 days a week. So yes, you have to keep in shape because it's a muscle, like you go out to the gym. If you don't sing, it's harder to jump back. The longer you take, the longer hiatus, the longer it takes to get back in shape. But it came around. In fact, luckily for me, I was feeling my oats and feeling so good that over the last few years, we dropped a key. We dropped a semitone, which allows you to sing a little easier. It takes a little burden off the high notes. But I was feeling so good that we jumped back to the original key. And so we're feeling confident. Maybe a little crazy, but you know.
Now, as far as,
We're going for it.
yeah, sounds good, good. Now, as far as songs are concerned, for your voice, do you find it's easier to sing something like "Be Good to Yourself" that's really hard and rocking, or is it harder to sing the ballads? How do you what's your take on all that?
Well, when you're in shape, when you're in good voice, you can go from a heavy duty rock and roll song to then you have to shift gears down to an Open Arms or Who's Crying Now. Actually, both those songs are probably the most difficult to sing because your heart's racing and you're on stage and the adrenaline is flowing. And to sing a song that intimate and that gentle takes a lot of literal mind control, that you have to control your body to calm down your heartbeat and get into the mood of the song. So that's really actually difficult to be able to shift those gears. Is it easier? What's easier, harder? It could be, you know what, every show is a different animal for one reason or another. You know, as long as the monitors are in good condition and you can hear yourself properly and the amps aren't too loud and the drums aren't too loud or too soft. When you have a Goldilocks mix of instruments and your voice is when things are usually go smoothly and easily. So there's no easy, you know, it's all a challenge. And that's what makes rock and roll so interesting for me at any age, but especially at my age, you know. Throw down the gauntlet. Let's go.
All right, so obviously you've recorded albums with Journey, 3 altogether, counting the EP, Tall Stories, Taikedo. I
Right.
was just wondering if you have any special song from each band that you kind of stands out for you personally. We'll start with Journey.
There are a handful with Journey, but I have to say, you know, I'm going to say the obvious is that if I had a hand in creation of the song, they of course are going to have a special meaning to me. And there's a couple. There's a song, "We Will Meet Again."
Off Arrival, yeah.
From Arrival, yeah. The one that I'm trying to think of right now, and I'm drawing a blank, I'm afraid. No, there's, you know, John Cane can write a lyric and a ballad. And when you couple that with Neil Sean's guitar, there are some ballads like "With Your Love" that I'm absolutely, you know, there are just some songs that it was a pleasure and an honor to be given, handed on a silver platter, a wonderful song. And it's songs like that that make, you know, make it all worthwhile. "Kiss Me Softly" is a special song that somehow kind of encapsulated in the essence of what I think I was about as a vocalist. There was something unique about that. You know, you can pull a whole bunch of songs that fell into the Journey category within the lines, and there are a number of those and they're great songs. But the ones that stick out are the ones that might be a little bit more unique to myself, and so I kind of gravitate to those. But "Higher Place" on Arrival is a crowd pleaser, and we'll be doing that in Batavia, and we'll look forward to rocking that one.
Okay. Yeah. What about Tall Stories? Do you have a particular favorite from that album?
You know, Yeah, I guess I do. I mean, the ultimate song, the one that people gravitate towards is the opening cut, which is Wild on the Run. And that really put us on the map, that particular song. Somewhere She Waits is another beautiful, almost Journey-esque ballad with a groove. Sister of Mercy, which was a song that I had a little bit more responsibility as a writer. That kind of, I relate to that song a little bit more than the others, but I would say though, that's a pretty good trio. Yeah.
All right.
They were
And
a
then,
wonderful band. They were a special band, and again, a pleasure to have worked with those guys. And that was a good point. You know, it was great growing and a stepping stone to reach Journey.
all right. And then the Type Kettle, of course, you recorded the one album back in, I think it was 94.
Yeah, ish. Yeah, 94. You probably know better. Taikedo was a great experience, and it came by surprise. It came around the barn, so to speak, because it was at the end, the sad demise of Tall Stories, and my good friend Brooke St. James gave me a call one day and asked if I had some time and if I would consider helping them write their next record. So I thought, yeah, that, you know, I had never done that particular task before, going with another band and just co-write with them. So I said, yeah, sure. So we had a 2 weeks time. I drove back and forth. At the time I was in Brooklyn, and I would drive to the Jersey Shore, which is, you know, notorious, right? The Jersey Shore. They had a wonderful band house, which, by the way, if anybody's ever been in a rock and roll band, and if you had the luxury of having a home where you all slept under the same roof, they'd wake up and it'd be rock and roll all day. They'd write and they'd play all day. And so I think I probably drove out there a minimum of 5 times a week for 2 weeks and wrote an entire record with them. But the whole time, I believe Danny at the time was living in Spain or Nashville. So he was out of town. So I guess I didn't think anything of it, because they just said he'll be coming. You know, they just kind of avoided where Danny was. And at the end of the 2 weeks, and we had accumulated these songs, they laid it on me that they were not going to proceed any further with Danny, and would I consider singing with the band and releasing this record as a Taikedo record with them. So I don't want to get too bogged down in this, but to make a very long story short, I said, well, you know what? Sounds great, but I don't think Taikedo would be a good idea. I think it's so different. The music that I created with them had a little bit more, just a little more. At the time, the Black Crowes were hot and popular. And I was feeling in that humble pie mode that I was coming around at rock and roll from that angle. And Taikedo is a great deal more hard rock, melodic, beautiful, fantastic. And they were just stylistically different. So I didn't think it was a good idea. And the band agreed until it was time to sign the contracts and almost go to press with it. They did a switcheroo, and they said the record company in Europe would not release it unless it was under Taikedo. So whether that was always the case or not, it was at the 11th hour decision. We did it, and I can tell you that we upset the fans extremely, because it wasn't a Taikedo record. It wasn't of that genre. I think it was a good record. I thought it was a great record, but had it been called anything but by Taikedo, it would have had a shot of, you know, it just would have had a little chance of making its own mark on the rock and roll world, but it did not. And it taught me a very valuable lesson when I was finally asked to audition and join Journey, was that I would absolutely go forward and absolutely sing the parts as they were written, as close as I could without aping or mirroring Mr. Steve Perry. to the point where, I didn't want to go in there and be an imitation, but it had to be respectfully in the same vein as Steve was, as a crooner, So it was important, again, a stepping stone to Journey, and it was a very valuable lesson to respect the fans that Taikedo did not get. They kind of got it on the chin, so to speak. And again, it was a necessary evil to get to the end. Yeah.
Okay. Now, Generations was an album that was a little bit different for Journey. Definitely, it seems like there was more outside writing and more people involved in the writing compared to the Arrival album. Tell us how that album came together. And obviously, you're not singing on every track on that album, surprisingly. There's so many other singers on there. Was that by design, or was it just?
Well, to be 100% honest with you, at the time, I was having voice troubles, and it was just, it made sense that if we're going to go out on the road again, that there would be a couple of moments in the set where other vocalists, other members of the band would take the spotlight. I'd be able to step off stage and with a cup of tea, rest my voice and go out after a song break. And, the set would be able to take a few breaks in it. So I almost want to say I may have sang 6 out of 10 songs. The percentage is something like that, the ratio, more or less. I don't remember exactly. Right. So that was really, it was by design. Had I been in good form, had I been in great voice, it probably would not have been the case. But we were looking ahead and looking at the future of live touring, live concerts. And that's the reality. It's really the truth. And I think everybody got a kick out of it. I think the guys did a great job. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, it's a very good album. It's one of those ones that I feel just kind of it got underrated. The time it came out, grunge was still big, and there weren't too many bands releasing albums like that at that point in time.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, like I was just saying before, it got a chance for folks to get out and step out, and it was a wonderful chance and opportunity for Dean Castronovo, who, aside from being a monster drummer, has just an incredible voice, and so he was featured at least, I think, as many as 2 songs. John had a terrific song, the title track "Generations," which I think is an extremely underrated song. Such a great song. I wish I could have sang that song. That was one that I would have gladly, begged, got on my knees and said, please. But he did such a great job again, and that was Generations. And I think, again, it wasn't released domestically on a major label. It was in Europe, if I'm not mistaken, with Frontiers. I'm pretty sure it was. And then again, I might be wrong. But we released it. It was a giveaway at our live shows. We gave a free album out, which I thought was a brilliant idea. We had seen, Neil and I had gone and seen Prince that year prior on tour. And we thought it was the greatest idea to give away your music for one reason or another at a show and walk away with a souvenir. So that's what we did as well. And so we got into probably a lot more pockets and a lot more CD players and a lot more, listening situations than had it not. So that was a pretty cool idea.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
All right. Now, there's the project that you were working with. We haven't really heard too many updates recently. So tell us about Underworld and what that's all about.
Briefly, this amazing guitarist, Kim Marcello, contacted me, and we just started communicating via email. And he wanted to know if I wanted to be involved in this progressive project. And I'm a big fan of the old 70s ELPs and Yes and Jethro Tull, Gentle Giant, and bands of that nature from that era. Mm-hmm. So I was absolutely down, in King Crimson and that sort of thing. And he put together a band that was out of this world, literally. And it was a great opportunity to work with these cats. And so we recorded 3 songs that sadly never saw the light of day, with the exception of, I think YouTube they're probably still available on YouTube under Underworld. If you Google Underworld and YouTube, you'll see these great 3 tracks. Metaphorically Speaking is one. The other 2, I'm afraid I'm not coming to my memory just now, but those are pretty great songs. And Key's a hell of a singer as well as an amazing guitarist and writer. He wrote these songs, and they were a hell of an honor to sing. And I love that genre. And it was a challenge, and it was a cool challenge. I had to step up. You know, when I joined Journey, I had to come from here. I had to jump to the ceiling. And so it was similar case with Underworld, because the playing was just ridiculous.
All right, I'm going to leave you with one final question here. Now, obviously, your set list during your show features a lot of Journey. The only question I have is, you don't really play too much of the Journey songs that you're noted for, like all in one show. You focus in on a lot of the other ones, the ones where Steve Perry was around. I was just curious, why don't you play more of your songs? Because you got so many great songs.
The answer is simple, and it is an obvious answer. When I started coming out with my band and playing the Journey show along with these songs, including those songs, and including songs that I had written recently and released at the time currently, the consensus from the buyers and the promoters and even the fans, the majority of the fans, not my beautiful, intimate Steve Augeri fans that I praise the Lord for them, but the majority of the folks needed to hear more of the essential Journey songs. And so that if I had to take away one of those, we used to call it the Dirty Dozen when I was in Journey. Those are the essential songs that you absolutely had to have in the set. Mm-hmm. If you took one out and replaced it, you got some blowback, let's put it that way. So what I learned to do was a minimum play one of those songs. Maybe if I felt the audience out and I thought I could get away with it, we would go for 2 songs. And it would usually be a song that I recorded with Journey, and the other song would be something that I had recorded currently. So a new single perhaps. And that's what our plan is to do this year as well. However, the beginning of the year is probably going to be going out there and sticking to what the folks really need to know and what they really need to hear. And then we're going to have to feel out, life has changed in the pandemic.
Yeah.
And for good and bad, things have shifted, the plates have shifted. And we're going to have to feel it out the first couple of shows and see what we could get away with. And but one thing we do, and it's because I personally have to do it at the end of the set, we do 1 or 2 songs from my past. As a fan, we do a Rod Stewart song, which growing up, he was my first one of my first vocal heroes after the Beatles was Rod Stewart. So we do a Rod Stewart song if we're allowed to, if we think we could get away with it. And we do, interestingly enough, a Tina Turner song, but which is in the vein of Rod Stewart and that kind of rock and roll from the 70s. Mm-hmm. So again, you have to feel the crowd out. And if you think they're would be welcome to it and would appreciate it, we play it, we go for it. And that's the story.
All right.
But before we hang up, I do want to say, do be on the lookout for some new music from myself and my co-writers within the band. I've also done a great new project with a band called Bad Penny, and I did a single with them called Lose Myself. If you guys get a chance to hear that on YouTube, that's been received rather well. And so look out for 7 Ways Till Sunday by myself and some of my members of the Steve Augeri band.
All right, very good. Well, I appreciate your time today, and I'm looking forward to seeing you next Friday there. Stay safe and take care. We'll see you then.
Joe, you tell everybody in Buffalo, keep the good work up, wear your masks where you have to, vaccinate where you can. Please do take care of your loved ones, everybody out there. Be careful. It's not over yet. We see the light at the end of the tunnel. Be good to yourselves. Be good to yourselves. Be good to yourselves. Okay. Joe, it's a pleasure. Thank you very much for this time, this opportunity.
Thank you.